Okay, good evening. We're going to start in the middle here with Alison from The Times. Hi, Alison.
Because there's 3 teams on 7 points, does it feel like a must-not-lose game or a must-win game?
I think it's a must-not-lose game because of the position that we're in. We lost ground in the first game against Valencia. We've made up a lot of that ground, but I always felt it would be a tight group, and the reality of it is that we are in this situation. So yeah, we don't want to lose the game. It doesn't mean we're out if we lose, but it puts us in a very difficult position.
John.
Hello, Frank. I was just wondering, sort of, kind of do you learn a lot about your players on sort of occasions like this? You know, you've got a lot of young players, but they've really come through so many challenges, and tonight is such a big test, such a big opportunity for them, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think we will, because they've shown in a lot of moments already this season that they're up to certain challenges. The Champions League has given us different ones because people can. If anybody's going to take a group like this lightly, then you'll be quickly addressed to know that how difficult this level of football is. And as I said before, the losing the first game against Valencia gave us difficulties. It's meant that we've had to go to 2 difficult stadiums and against 2 difficult teams and win. But the work remains to be done, so another challenge in front of them.
Dillo, just next to that gentleman there. Thank you.
Hi, Frank. The first game that Valencia won 1-0, I think you were saying afterwards that you kind of admitted that your players looked raw, looked inexperienced in the Champions League, and that was a big learning curve for them. How far do you think they've come in terms of their maturity since that night? Because it seems like a long time ago now, doesn't it?
Yeah, long enough that I don't remember saying that they look raw, but I'm not sure. Is that what you said? Yeah. No, I don't think it was a fact of them being raw. I think in the team we've got, whether they're young or not, I think we have quality in this team to take on a lot of teams in Europe. What happened on the night, I felt like we were the better team. We conceded a goal, which I think my major feeling after the first game was the lesson that will always be there, whether you're an 18-year-old or 32, is that in the Champions League, if you sleep for one moment, you can lose a game at this level. And that was a lesson in the first game. Since then, of course, we've shown moments where we've gone to Lille and gone to Ajax and got results in very tough places, and we'll need to take every bit of concentration, every bit of focus into this game, because the rules always remain the same, particularly when you travel in the Champions League, particularly when you come to a stadium like this, which is a fantastic stadium to play football, but can be a very difficult one when you're the opposition coming here.
Has it surprised even you what they've done in the Champions League since then?
No, not really, because I believe in the group, and I believed in us having the ability to go to Lille, go to Ajax and get results, and the character shown in the comeback against Ajax at home was another small step for the group. So yeah, no, it hasn't surprised me, but I know there's more to come.
Matt.
Frank, does this game at all present a different opportunity, straight pressure for the team, in that they have qualification in their hands if they win, and yet you can also be left in quite a difficult position to actually get through if they don't win?
Yeah, and then that's the reality of it. The loss in the first game put us in this position. I don't think the Ajax draw did. It was losing a game at home in day one, when we should have got a result for sure. So what we've done really is bring that kind of knockout football slightly earlier in the competition, and that's no big problem. Obviously, it will be a problem if we lose, but the reality is at this level that you're going to come to that kind of conundrum at some point where it'll be like this. So that is a big test for us.
Simon.
Hi, Frank. You played in the knockout stages in the Europa League and the Champions League. How much more of a benefit would be for the young players to play knockout football in Champions League rather than the Europa League worst case scenario?
Well, the Champions League is the top level of club competition football. There's no doubt about that. So the benefits are clear for every player. Players want to play in the knockout stage of the Champions League because of the teams that are in it, because of the competition and because of the prestige it holds above pretty much every club competition. So I think that's clear. I loved playing in it for however many years. It always has a magical feeling. The Europa League, I don't want to take that away from that, but it's clear that we're in this competition to try and stay in it, and that's why these next 2 games are so important.
Frank, can I just ask you briefly about Ross Barkley? He was left out of the matchday squad in Lille after the incident in Liverpool, and he's not travelled today. Is it a concern, the headlines that he's making off the pitch, or what was the thinking behind leaving him out, and are you concerned moving forward?
I think that there's two separate issues. One is the headlines this week. Ross knows how I felt about the first headline. I backed him then, I still back him now, but he showed a moment of lack of professionalism as far as I'm concerned. And it's not something that I want to be a pure dictator and come down hard, because I also understand that all my players are humans and have lives, and I don't police every moment of their life. So I don't think it's a terrible thing that he's done. But what Ross needs to do now, he's had an injury. He's still kind of carrying the injury, he still gets a bit of pain on shooting. So he just has to work his way back in terms of the fitness thing, train well, and I certainly don't hold anything against my players. I like Ross, he's firmly one of my players, and I think it was something that he needs to now show all his reactions on the pitch.
Okay, gentleman at the back, is it Spanish? In Spanish, it's just pick up the earpiece. Listen, please. Okay.
Mr. Rovira, VCF Media. ¿Qué Valencia esperas mañana?
I've watched a lot of Valencia's matches, not just in the Champions League but in La Liga, and we have the experience of playing against them. So I expect a very organised team. I expect a team with quality, a lot of quality in attacking areas, the two strikers, the wide players that they have. And my feeling is that, having played at this stadium, that it's not just a team, but it's the support and the atmosphere. And when they come together and they're playing well and the atmosphere is strong, it's a difficult game for everybody. So I expect a difficult match.
James?
Frank, after the game on Saturday, you said about moments in boxes being the decisive factor. Do you think that's going to be the same tomorrow night?
I think it's always the same. Because at Manchester City, you talked about a particularly high-level game of two teams going at each other. So the moments in the box are always going to be the things that can tip those games. And every game in the Champions League, pretty much at this level, can be decided in that way. There can be a battle in midfield. They can be tight. They can be difficult. But you have to be clinical in both boxes as a rule of football, and particularly at games when there's so much at stake and when the opposition or the match is tight.
Okay, last question, Jacob.
Frank, Tammy's done so well this season, but if there's maybe just one slight criticism, it's that he's perhaps not quite done it in some of those big games. He's not perhaps scored in those big games. Is that a concern for you, and is tomorrow night perhaps a chance for him to show he can do that?
No, because it depends what you classify as a big game. If you want to talk about Lille away in a difficult Champions League evening, that's a big game for me. If you want to talk about every game in the Premier League, that's a big game for me. So there are... if you want to classify the top six in the Premier League, who are the top six? What are the top six? From week to week it changes. So Tammy scored a big number of goals. He's second in the Premier League rankings for a reason. He scored a goal in Europe. He scored for his country recently. I've absolutely no fears about him.
Okay, very last one, Matt, and then we've got to go.
It's not a particularly serious question, I'll admit, but the Valencia coach today said that you did a good job as Coventry manager last season. I'm just wondering whether you might think that they've not done their research properly.
I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say to that. I'm guessing he got Coventry and Derby confused. I know geographically they're not a million miles away, so that can be his mistake. I'm sure he meant it, or he didn't mean it badly. I guess. I'll pull him on it tomorrow and we'll see.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Injuries happening, sorry.
Yeah, well, we've got Callum Hudson-Odoi is not available. He's getting better through the week, so hopefully he will be for the weekend. Tony Rudiger, thankfully, now we're talking match fitness as opposed to the injury itself. So he's training hard, and it will be more days and weeks as opposed to months as it has been. So those are the two that are out. Thanks. Cheers.